Good morning or good afternoon to some of you guys out on the East Coast. My name is Johan Alfson. We are going to start the webinar on new products for Everest. So I'm just going to go over a couple things real quick, some housekeeping. We are obviously, if you haven't been in a webinar before, everybody is muted. So if you have questions, type them into the question box that you see there. And you could probably see my face here, and Mr. Nick Pack there is also joining us. I'll do some introductions here as we get going and get everybody introduced. But some quick housekeeping. So it's all based on your Wi-Fi connection. So if you have some issues, check your Wi-Fi. It's probably to do with your Wi-Fi connection. So just make sure you're good there. And obviously everybody's been doing a lot of webinars since we're all sheltering in place at home, and there's a lot of restrictions. I'm here in Berkeley, California. We're pretty strict here, and things are going back down to lockdown. So I know everybody's joining from all around the world, really, and all around the country. So thanks for joining us. We're going to get started here. Again, if you have questions, type them into the question box there. Nick will bring some of them up if they're related to the topic. Otherwise, we'll do a Q&A at the very end. I'll try to leave some time. I believe this is a 1-hour presentation, and I'll do my best to stay to the time. So I'm going to jump right in, and we'll get started. So let's see, this is delayed a little bit. There we go. So the agenda for today, we already did some logistics. I'll introduce everybody here in a second. And I'll talk a little bit about who Everest is. I think it's good to know who the manufacturer is. There's a lot of new companies that come and go on this solar coaster, but we're here to stay. We are not owned by a VC company. We're actually owned by a European, well-established solar racking manufacturer. And I'll talk about that a little bit and who we are. And I think it's good to know the background of a manufacturer and where we come from. So I'll introduce K2 and Everest and how we all work, and we'll do a brief product overview on what we offer as a whole. I know this is going to be focusing on the CrossRail 44X and our new product improvements, and I think you guys are really going to like some of the component features that we have. There's some really cool stuff that our engineers and our sales team and myself have been working on tremendously to improve the installation experience for all of you guys joining us. So if you're new to solar, don't hesitate to ask any questions. There are no dumb questions. Please ask. I love helping out companies that are just starting or well-established companies trying to improve their installation process. So if you've taken any of my trainings, I love this stuff. I love the training side. I have a whole little training setup. You can't really see it because my camera's pretty bad. I'm working on a webcam version, but I have a whole racking setup here. If we have time, I'll move the computer around and show you what I got. But I have some, you can't see it, but I have all the little hardware here, and I like to turn the camera on so I can show you. So I'll show you some stuff and try to avoid you multitasking and checking your email at the same time. So if you're joining us, please stay tuned for this whole hour, because I'm going to go through a lot of stuff very quickly. And our new single tool system is pretty cool, and I think you guys are going to like it a lot. So again, my name is Johan Alfson. I'm a Senior Director of Product Marketing for Everest, and I joined up in 2018 at the end of the year. I was with another manufacturer for 12 plus years. Some of you guys might know, and maybe you use some of those products. I worked very hard, and Nick was actually with the same company for almost 10 years. And we worked very hard on products, very hard on customer support. And we did a lot of work there, and we felt like mission accomplished. And Everest had some really great products that I really loved, and their marketing needed a little bit of support. So I joined the team for doing technical marketing and managing that ship. And with the help of Dakota, she has been an awesome addition to the company. Also around the same time as me, just after I was on, we hired Dakota to do our marketing and manage the marketing department. So her and I have been working on our team in Mexico with Lydia If you're from Mexico, we have a lot of, actually Latin America in general, we have a lot of support, and we have a lot of customers from there. So if you're joining us, we do have some Spanish versions and Lydia of these webinars, and Lydia manages that, and Dakota manages the US and the whole marketing department with me. We have Lauren on the social media side as well, but Dakota's on, and she's going to be kind of just making sure we're good on the technical side with the webinars. Things can go wrong. She'll send out the NAVSEP credits if you attend the whole webinar. At the end, she'll send those out by request. And then Nick Pack is our Western Regional Sales Manager. He's also out here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I'm at. Him and I have been in the industry for years. We've played in bands together for 10 plus years and did Solar Battle the bands. If you're not familiar with that, you can Google that. It's a pretty fun thing. But he manages all of our sales on the West, and he's actually hiring too. So we're growing quite a bit. We're doing a lot. So if you have questions on the Western side and on products, Nick is a very technical savvy person with our products and our design-based tools. So he's going to be on answering some questions. If you type them in, if they're relatable, he'll bring them up and throw them into the discussion. But we will do a Q&A at the end. Just to know our team, Ross Gerard is our VP of Sales. He manages the whole sales department. He's been with the team since the beginning, really. And Brett Nielsen is our Director of Business Development. You might recognize these two. They do a lot of work for the whole sales department and biz dev. Our outside sales team, Nick, as I mentioned, manages the Northwest. Brad manages the Midwest. We just added Mark Jubenville to the South. You might recognize him. He's been in the industry for a while. And Al as well is probably our longest standing outside sales rep. He's out East, does a fantastic job. Ulysses, I kept him on here just as an ode to him. He actually just moved on outside of the solar industry. We will miss him dearly, but this is my ode to him because he did a lot of work for our company for a long time, and we will miss him. Again, we are hiring for different positions, so check our website for that. Our inside sales team exists of some technical services, which is Nancy and Ryan, and client services, Nancy, Ryan, Luce, and Manuel manage our inside sales, and Ale manages the entire department for inside sales and technical services. So these are the folks that are helping you with your designs on base, where to get product, distributors, orders that are coming through. If there's some distributor reps on here, you will probably be talking to them, and they're good to know. So we have many locations. As I mentioned, we're owned by K2 Systems. And so that's why you see a lot of us using the K2 logo. We're the same company. So K2 is started in Germany, and they have branched out all over Europe and all over South America, actually, and now North America in the earlier 2000s, which was spawned as Everest. So Everest is North America, and our headquarters is in Vista, California, which is near San Diego. And we also have an office in Guadalajara, Mexico. As I mentioned, we do a lot in Mexico, and we do have webinars specifically in Spanish. So if you're interested in that, you can check our website, and they do a lot of really good technical content to the Mexico market as well as South America. So we have installs all over the world, really. So we're in over 110 countries. You can see this map where the red is where all of our Everest and K2 products have reached and been installed successfully and still operating today. So we cover a lot of ground, almost the entire world. So the reason I bring this up is because we're definitely a bankable company. We're not going anywhere. This industry is pretty crazy. You see a lot of acquisitions. You see a lot of companies go under. And for you as an installer, I'm assuming you're an installer or maybe a distributor rep, you obviously want to work with a company that's going to be around for the long haul, so you maintain warranties on all these systems you're installing. And, we're trying to find that balance of cost effective and maintaining quality. If you know anything from what me and Nick have done in the past, we were all about quality at our past company, and there's no shortage of that with Everest, and that's why we moved over, because They do high quality products. I mean, the made in Germany and German engineering is a real thing. And we have adapted our systems for all these different roof types that pertain to the US as well as Mexico. So we've taken designs from the K2 European systems, and we've analyzed what is good and what works for our market, and we've adapted it to our market. So we've made some changes. So the CrossRail family is what you're probably most familiar with, and this is getting into new products and existing products. So I'm just going to cover real quick. Our CrossRail family is our rail line. So you're probably most familiar with CrossRail 48X. XL is a beefier version of that, and our 80 is our mostly used for ground mount and some light commercial, but 48XL is actually used for some light commercial as well. And actually 48X is pretty strong as well. So the 48, well, the number pertains to the height of the rail. So if you're wondering why we call it a number like that, it's the profile. So you can see the little drawings I put there. You can see it's 48 millimeters tall. So our newest introduction that we're going to be getting into today is the 44X system. So it's a lighter rail, but it's not a lighter duty rail that's only pigeonholed as a light rail in California and Arizona and no snow load. It's actually pretty strong. We've basically optimized the system to be take the strength of 48X and parts of XL and taken that same profile and shape and reduced the size and reduced some of the thickness of the wall to optimize it to work in all the most heavily solar friendly environments like New Jersey, New York, California, Arizona, Colorado, and some parts of the Midwest for rooftops. So this 44X won't be used for ground mount. If you're doing ground mount, that's going to be 80X, and we do a whole webinar on that. We just did one, and it's recorded on our website. So this is going to be specifically focusing on 44X and all the improvements that come with the single tool system that we've just launched. So this product is out. This is not future talk. This is, our distributors got briefed on this about a month or two ago, and they have all the pricing. They have all the part numbers, and this is rolled out now. So it is available. Obviously, our distributors are going to have to go through inventory and sell our existing stock that has the two-tool system, and I'll show you the difference of that. If some of you guys got the email announcing this webinar, I did a quick little video in my apartment on my little personal training setup, and I show the differences just real briefly and went over all the parts. I'm going to do that again now, but if you haven't seen that video, it's on that email you got about the webinar, and it'll be on YouTube, and you can check that out. If you're a distributor and you're still trying to figure out the system, I go over it all there. And also the existing system with 48X and some of the existing parts, they're not going to be obsolete. They basically, they still work, and they can actually work in conjunction with this system. It's just that now we're moving to single tool, so you don't have to have the Allen head. I think I have one here somewhere. You don't have to have this Allen tool anymore, which is this guy here. So if some of you guys have installed this, this is our old system, and I think I have the old part here. I'll go over this in detail. Sorry, I'm just grabbing hardware here. This is the Allen tool that would go on our old hardware. Now we have the hex head for everything, and again, I'll go over all of this and show you what I'm talking about part by part. So let's get into it. Well, actually, let me just go over how it relates to our existing system, because this is relatable to all this system. So our CrossRail is pretty versatile. It works in shared rail, dual rail, and if you're not familiar with dual rail and shared rail, I do talk about that in that video briefly, and we have a separate webinar, and it's recorded, and we're probably going to do another one again. If you're interested in shared rail, we can go over that another time, but I just wanted to mention that 44X does work in landscape for shared rail. As you can see in the middle there's shared rail. Dual rail is standard dual rail, 2 rails per rows of modules. Shared rail basically moves one of the rails and eliminates one of the rails and moves it to share it between two rows of modules, like you see there on the left, you can see my cursor. You can see this bottom module sharing with this top module, sharing one rail. So it does eliminate hardware, obviously, it eliminates penetrations. It's great for a standing seam roof where you're going to use like our power clamp on there and an L-foot, because you can move that up the standing seam. Our power clamp is our clamp. We have a standing seam clamp. A lot of people don't know that, but it's been around for years and they use it a lot in Mexico, and they're starting to a lot more in the US. So you could do, shared rail with a skirt. You could do shared rail with no skirt. And now a lot of people are starting to do a tucked system, which is kind of a hybrid where you get that front rail tucked in like a regular dual rail system. But it looks clean. You have it hidden. In my opinion, I think it's the best looking. So if you're interested in this, I can show you, and we can do trainings one-on-one with your crew. We've really nailed it down. If you're interested in this, we usually recommend that you start with dual rail if you haven't already with Everest, then kind of graduate to a simple shared rail system. Then you can get into some bigger installs that are a little bit more complicated, like you see number 3 there. It's actually a pretty beautiful system out in Portland. Shout out to Elemental who did that system. And then maybe figure out in base, because you can toggle between shared rail and dual rail, and figure out which one works best. So this is relatable to the new parts that we have. All of this, our single tool system is going to go to all these clamps in these systems. So I'm just giving you an overview of how CrossRail works. Same rail for all these systems, minus the D-dome, which I'll talk about for our ballasted system. So this is our CrossRail in the tilt-up orientation. So there's an example of a job I did with an installer out in Tucson, Arizona. Great system, a lot of flat roofs out there. You can use whatever standoffs you use for any system for a flat roof or low slope roof, as we say in the roofing world. And then it uses our L-feet, and our rail tilt-up system basically uses a short piece of rail as the back leg. We just did a new video on this. So again, if you're interested in this, we have that on our website. There's a lot of new training resources getting on the website. So definitely check that out, because we've been working hard on that and providing a lot of digital content for you guys to learn these systems. So the only additional part to make this a tilt-up system is that climber set there, which marries the two rails together, and then the connector set that makes the tilt on the back leg. That's it. And you have the same parts in the truck, mids and ends, grounding lugs, L-feet, all the same stuff, same T-bolts, and now single tool. So you can use 44X on that system for the tilt-up if you're interested in that as well. As I mentioned, the ground mount system is the same clamps and is the same hardware and features, but the rail is typically the CrossRail 80X, which is the bigger fat rail. I don't think I have one of those in here, but you can see the profile there. It's a bigger one for commercial. So, for ground mount. So we did do a webinar on this just recently as well, and that is recorded. And we have a lot of new stuff coming out for the ground mount, which we'll probably announce as the next in the next kind of new product webinar. So, again, the other solutions for metal roofs, we are doing a roofing webinar on the 22nd later this month. So I'm going to get into some of these in more detail. But just to let you know, I mentioned the standing seam clamp, which we call our power clamp. We have 2 sizes, the mini and the standard. I actually have both right here. So this is the standard with 2 pins, and this is the mini with the single pin, and you can see the L-foot on top there. So it's not a kit, so you would order the L-feet separately. But if you're interested in that, we did do a metal webinar, and that is recorded on our website. Trapezoidal, we actually have the Mini Rail Express system, which is a pretty unique system where you use a mini rail, and I do have one here. Let me grab it. And then we can move on to the new product. But same mid clamps and end clamps that we're talking about today. This is just literally a mini rail, and it has this EPDM foam that you put on the top of the trapezoidal. That's got that flat top like you see in the image there. And then you put 1 screw in each corner, and this has multiple holes so you can move it around. And then 2 modules will meet here, and then you put a mid clamp right into here, and then two modules will meet side by side here, and you basically don't have a long extruded rail. It's the same profile as all of our rails, so you can use all the same hardware, but it's a mini rail system specifically for trapezoidal. So definitely check that out if you are interested. That is on our website, and it's also available. Oh, there's a better picture of it there. So there's some of the hardware. Same mid clamps, end clamps that we're going to be talking about today with our new system. Roof attachments. I bring this up because we're coming out with a lot of new roof attachments. We still have our E-comp and our E-comp slider. Our newest comp mount is our Everflash XP. I'll talk about that in a minute here. I mentioned our power clamp, and then we have some tile hooks as well. And we do have some new tile hooks coming out. So our engineers probably don't want me to say it, but I'm just going to say it, that we have some hooks coming out. So if you're using tile products, it's a good time to get on our newsletter, because we're going to be announcing a lot of new tile products in the next couple months, various of them. So if you like our S hook, our 3S hook, which has levels of stages that you can move up and down, you're really going to like the new product that we're coming out with next. So there's just a little tip. So I mentioned our Everflash XP. This is out now, and you can get this from our distributors now. Some have it in stock already. It's called the Everflash XP Comp, and this is specifically for comp shingle roofs. And it comes included with a lag bolt with the sealing washer pre-installed. And I think I have one right here. Yes, I do. So it comes with the lag bolt pre-installed. You have the lag screw and the EPDM sealing washer pre-installed. I know that might not seem like a big deal to some of you guys, and some of you guys, if you're installers, you'll appreciate it, because when you're on the roof and you're trying to put this on, this is very helpful to already have done. So usually there's somebody just sitting on the ground opening up baggies and putting them on. We just put that on for you. So there is additional cost, and we put it into the system and baked it in. We also included a T-bolt set. So you have that T-bolt already set, so you can put into your L-foot, and it goes right through the slot. It's designed for it. You're not fighting it at all. You're not taking it apart. You just put it in there, put it into the rail, lock it in, and you're good to go. So it has that EPDM pre-installed on the bottom as well, and it's got that dome shape there that goes over it. You can see kind of a cutout, and this is a really big deal for this product. We just got a roofing letter that approves that it will not void the warranty of a CertainTeed roof. So CertainTeed is one of the biggest roof manufacturers out there. So they tested it, looked at it, and approved it. Not all roof manufacturers give this letter, and not all mounts get this letter. So this is huge. So if you're installing on a roof and you're putting holes in the roof and it's a brand new roof, there's a warranty on that roof. So you want to make sure that you're not voiding that warranty. I'm not going to get into too much, but if you have questions on that, either ask, and we could do it in the Q&A. But I will have a webinar on July 22nd going over roofing best practices, and I'll talk more about this and how to maintain roof warranties if one exists when you're installing on a new roof. So the last product I wanted to mention on the roof attachment side is a really exciting new product, is this what we call the T-Foot X. So this is literally the product right here in my hand. So you can tell it's real. Obviously we gave it the name T because of the shape, but it goes like this, and this is for a flat roof application or low slope roof again. And it doesn't come with the lag bolts right now because different installers want different size lags. So you want to, you're either going into a big beam, or maybe there's some 2x4s, or maybe it's metal. You got to do and figure out what you're going into and do some of the engineering. We've done pull tests and shear tests on this that give you some basic values that you can figure out what you need to go into. It does, however, come with the, right here in the output, it does come with the T-bolt set that I mentioned, for just like the Everflash product. It comes in and you can put that into the system and turn this and go into the rail. So that's going to come as a set as well. So this eliminates an L-foot on a post. So you have 1 foot, and you can put like a chem curb, E curb on there if you want. It has 2 slots for 2 lag bolts. and this is available now. So that's on our website, and that's available to our distributors. There's the part number. Everything we do is usually like a 4,000 and then a specific part number. So this one's 644. So definitely check that out if you're interested. That's a new product that just came on and is available now. So check with your distributor, and I'm going to do a video soon with an install with ChemLink, so you can see how that installs. But basically, it's pretty straightforward. It goes into a 4-inch ChemLink E-curb, and you've probably already used those already. Our distributors have those in stock, so it's pretty simple. The D-Dome system, there's nothing new here. I just wanted to make sure that you know that we do have a flat roof ballasted system, and this is a dual tilt system. So typically it's an east and west, and in some cases this allows you to maximize your power density in a specific location. So if the roof is tight, you can fit a lot of power in that section. So we're not trying to say it's better than every south-facing system, but in some cases this can work out better if you have lower ballast because you have 2 modules on each side and you get more power. It just depends on the roof and the situation that you're installing on. So we did just do a webinar on that, and it is recorded and is on our website. So if you're wondering more about that system, go ahead and check it out. So that is a railless system. It uses a peak and a base, and it's very straightforward and simple. If you haven't used it already, do go to our website. We're working on videos to show how it installs a little bit better. And we are working on all kinds of new systems for flat roofs, a low slope system. So do check that out. So the beauty about this is everything I'm going to talk about now with the components that have been improved with our new single tool system, it all pertains to that whole CrossRail family that I just mentioned. So as well as parts of the mini rail and some parts of the D-Dome system. So the hardware and the components, if you're interested in shared rail, but you do dual rail, the beauty is that with our shared rail, it's not such a huge risk or commitment because you're using the same components. So you don't really have to make some big purchase of new parts. You can use, if you're doing a shared rail system and there's maybe an array that works better to just do 2 rails per row, you can literally do that on the fly because you have all the parts, the mid clamps, end clamps, the rail, it's all the same. So you just position the rail in a different spot and it works. So all these components you see here translate to dual rail, shared rail, whatever system you're working on. So it's a very versatile system, very user-friendly, easy to install. And if you watch our videos on clamps, you'll see how to put it in. And there's definitely a finesse to it. Once you get it down, it's a lot faster. So let's get into some of the improvements that I mentioned with this new system. So obviously I mentioned the 44X, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. We have improved mid clamps and end clamps. I'll show you that in more detail, but you can see I have one here. Got the hex head and the cylinder here, which I'll talk about and why that's beneficial. We have the Yeti clamp, which you've probably seen already because it's come into play. This is a hidden end clamp that allows you to do interior clamping. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the Everest ground lug is also a new product that is out, and we have improved all of these with the hex head to be a single tool system, so you can install everything with a 13mm socket, and we'll talk about that in a minute as a part of our single tool system. Same thing with the with our rail connectors as well. Excuse me. Just clearing the throat there. Okay, so again, if you have questions, go ahead and enter it into the chat box there, and Nick and I will do a Q&A at the end. Again, Nick, if it's relatable to exactly what we're talking about, go ahead and throw it in there. I don't mind if you interrupt and we talk about it, but I'm going to keep rolling on. So I mentioned 44X. Why create a new rail when the 48X works beautifully? Unfortunately, this industry has entered in a crazy price war. We're just lowering prices and prices and prices, and you know, if any of our competitors are on here, we can, you know, we can cheers to say that our margins have been squashed so hard that we're probably buying PBR and not buying the fancy IPAs anymore, unless somebody just nailed a deal. But we are probably the lowest on the totem pole, making the most money. So making the least amount of money, I should say, in these systems. We've squashed our margin lines to keep you guys happy. So installers and distributors are, always looking for the best price, and we're trying to compete. And this new 44X system has been optimized to be a lower cost, but not sacrifice quality. So if you look at the profile here, I have both in comparison here. I've got 48X if you love it and you don't want to move from it and you like that heavy duty, German engineering. We're still going to sell it if you want it. So just order now, because it's still with our distributors, and some distributors will continue to order it. I imagine more on the East Coast where you get really heavy snow loads. But the 44X system can take some snow load and can take some pretty high winds, and it's a lot lighter. I loaded up a bunch of this on my truck when I brought some back, because I knew we were going into a shelter in place and I wanted to have as much rail as possible at my house. So I stocked up my garage with a system to do on Nick's house, which we're going to be doing pretty soon. And I took, I think, like a bundle of like 4 or 5 big long rails by myself and grabbed it and put it on my roof rack, and it was a lot lighter. I noticed immediately. And so that is beneficial to some installers because of shipping, and distributors, because of shipping, stocking, and just straight up handling, taking it to the roof. So this is a lot lighter. And again, it does work in a lot of heavy snow loads, not heavy, but good amount of snow loads and wind speeds. Just depends on your design. Again, we're not going to lie and say it will cover every state in every scenario. If you get really heavy snow loads and you want to do 4-foot spans, you might want to jump up back to 48X. It just depends. You can go in our base tool, which is our online design tool, and figure it out. And you can swap between rails and figure it out. 44 is all getting inputted into it now. So you can start to compare all of that. So just go on our website. If you're not familiar with base, it is a handy tool, and all the engineering is built right into it. So if you don't know that all-on design tool and you want to check it out, it's free. Either go on there, take a tutorial, or talk to one of our inside sales reps or your outside sales rep in your area, and they can guide you through it. They know the system front and back, and if you take the time to learn that, you can compare what rail works best for you. Is it 48X? Is it 48XL? Is it 44 once you have all the information? And we do have ASCE 716 letters for that. If you don't know what that is, we did do a webinar. Tyler, our head of engineering, did an awesome webinar on 716 and how we're relating all of our products to it and what it means. It changes the wind zones on the roof, and it's not just, zone 1, 2, and 3 anymore. They account for the eave, the rake, and all those different special wind zone areas, because they're seeing systems not engineered properly and flying off the roof. So we do some very conservative engineering, so you're protected with these systems. And I gotta say, yes, we're all friends in this industry, and our competitors, I'm friends with a lot of guys at different companies that we compete, but I'm not going to name names, but some companies are not putting the right engineering out there for you guys to design a correct system. So we're not hiding our engineering. It's all out there in front, and it's on the website, and it's very detailed. So the reason why it's somewhat confusing is because there's so much information, and Tyler has done a great job at making sure all the engineering is there. So go on our website, look at the engineering letters, go to 44X, and you can click on the different 716, 710. They're all there per state, so you can download all that information. So ASCE 716 is the new code that we're under, and it's jurisdiction by jurisdiction. So if you're in a state that it's still on 710, it might not relate, but 716 is picking up in California, Colorado. They're all starting to move over to these new codes. So definitely make sure that you're focusing on the right products for the right market, because you might get dinged for not using the up-to-date codes and letters. Excuse me. So as I mentioned, I try to throw out some basic numbers here. Obviously, there's maybe somebody from the East Coast here. There's maybe somebody from California, Southern California, where there's no snow load, or somebody with high snow load. So you still can get some of those standard 4-foot and 6-foot spans, depending on where you are. You got up to 100-pound snow loads in different areas, 200-mile-per-hour winds. Just depends where you are. So like I said, talk to our inside sales team, and if you're very curious about this, we can run you through it. It's going to be regionally based, and we have all the engineering to back that up and support your region and your state. So now this only requires one single tool, and let's get into this. So before, if there's any Everest installers on here, you know that we were a 2-tool system where you have this Allen head here, and this used to go into our old part. So here's the old one, and it went into so you could do everything. We actually moved to a 2-tool system before, when we changed all of our bolts to be a 1/2-inch socket. And just so you know, the reason why we went 13 millimeter, I know some of you guys are like, why not 1/2-inch socket? Because it's US. Well, the rest of the world uses millimeter. And if you really want to use, if you got 5/16 lag bolts, which is what our comp mount is, there's a 5/16 lag bolt, which would be a 1/2-inch. Is that what I have here? A 1/2-inch socket on this fits best. But we did a bunch of tests, and we actually did a 13 millimeter on 5/16 bolts, and it works fine. It works great. And a 1/2-inch will work on a 13 millimeter bolt. Sometimes it just kind of sticks. You'll see it feels kind of funny. It does work in a pinch. Depends on if you have a 6-point. This is a 6-point socket, or a what is it, 12-point? I think it is. So just, if you go 13 millimeter, we're starting to give these away if you want. If your crews want to move to this, this is what you're going to want. So you could still use a 13 millimeter socket on all hardware, on all 5/16 lags, whatever you need. So we're going 13 millimeter because it's the easiest across the board for our entire company and for all the regions. So 13 millimeter does the job. For everything. So now our ground lug has it, our Yeti clamp's going to have it, or it has it now. All of our splice rail connectors have it, and our mids and ends. So let's get into the mids and ends and what all these components have. So some of you guys don't know, our product has what's called an MK3 here at the bottom. That's just kind of, it's like this strut nut like you see on here. We did a little video on this to get more detail. If you're not familiar with this product, this clamp is, in my opinion, I mean, I used to install for years, and if you guys know me, I am not a sales guy. I don't even know what prices are. That's why Nick's here, because I geek out on the technology, on the function. If it doesn't work on the roof and it's gimmicky, I don't like it. I like simple, easy to install, pre-assembled. Everybody wants pre-assembled. So Everest was the first racking company to actually incorporate pre-assembled, spring-loaded, ready to go, out of the box. When, this is going to make me sound old, but back in my day, when I used to install, we had to assemble everything, and we had to slide it from the end of the rail. Some of you guys have been in the industry for, 6 or 7 years plus. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those old Pro Solar days where you're sliding in from the side, and you have to muscle it over, or if it's a good day, it slides over. This is top mounted. It goes in kind of like a strut nut and a piece of strut. So you take this clamp, this plastic piece is purely an installation aid. It's not structural. If it breaks or rips off, it's not a big deal. It just helps you install it. So you grab it here across from this T-bolt, which is our MK3, and you drop it in the rail, and you turn it, and once it's in, you'll see this plastic tab will kind of sit in that rail channel very nicely, and you can slide it around, and it's easy. So if you're muscling it in and overdoing it and you don't have any finesse, then you'll probably break it. Sorry. That was Ryan, our inside sales technical services guy calling me.
We have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it better to choose our standard end clamp or the Yeti clamp for high wind zone areas?
Great question. So they're both rated. If you do it on the base tool, I believe you can select Yeti clamps. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. You can select the Yeti clamp, yeah, or the standard end clamp. We're not going to stop selling the standard end clamp, which let me grab one here. So that's a great question for whoever asked. this is our standard end clamp, this is our hidden end clamp. And I'm not going to BS you guys and say the Yeti clamp is the best one every time. Honestly, if you're on the edge of the roof and it's tight and it's a little dangerous to get under there, because you do have to get under there. We created a little leash in there and you can pull it and pull, and we are actually incorporating it now. We listen to installers, so we're putting a little, we found the best little zip tie. It's actually a cable tie. You can use it on the roof if you want. It's actually nicer than a zip tie. It slips in best here. We're incorporating it into the box now because people were asking which zip tie works best. Some of them fall out. This has a little tag here to put in the zip tie and pull it back. I honestly just stick my hand underneath there. So the way this installs is you grab the Yeti clamp and put it in, and you just push it in. And I did a video on this, and you push it in, you drop the module. I usually mark the module end or on the rail, make a mark, lift the module, chop off the rail, and then bring it back down so it's perfectly flush. And then I usually just put my hand underneath. You're at the edge of the array, the module lands here. You can just put your hand in there, push forward, and then put some tension on there, and then hit it with your 13mm socket, and this drives down and clamps the flange of the module on the inside of the frame. So where to use that best? There's a couple things. One, as I mentioned, if you have enough space on the edge of the roof to be out there and install it, this is a great product. If you're tight to the edge, because some people max out all the way to the edge of the roof, don't use it then. Use the standard end clamp. Don't put your guys at risk at the edge of the roof or on a ladder going up to the roof and trying to get in there. Be conscious of how you're designing the system. If you're going to the edge of the roof, use the standard end clamp because you can reach over there and hit that from the other side and be safe. Safer, I should say. Obviously, you're going to want fall protection and be OSHA compliant on the roof. But to answer your question, I would say for safety, choose wisely. This standard end clamp might be a little better if you got tight, if you don't have much room on the edge of the roof. If you got plenty of room, this hidden end clamp, Yeti clamp, works great. And also aesthetics, you're chopping the rail perfectly to the edge. And if the system's seen by the end by the street, you can mix too. If on the other side you want to put standard end clamps because you don't care and you want to save a couple pennies each clamp, and you got the side of the array, the end of the array where the homeowners are going to see it every day, and you really want to sell that quality, you can chop it, put the Yeti clamp, and it will look nice and tight. So aesthetics is one, safety is another, obviously. And then also some people have been installing end clamps like this from any manufacturer and driving with an impact gun. We all know you guys are using impacts. We say you shouldn't because we're the manufacturer, and really you shouldn't because you're probably going to cross thread it. An impact drill is a lot of force. So an impact is literally hammering in the drill, which is great for when you're going into a rafter with a lag bolt or a lag screw, right? You're driving into there and you want it to hammer it in and secure it tight. But when you get to the hardware on the top, this is metal to metal. Sometimes if you have a nice gun, like one of those Hiltis or whatever, you have triggers or DeWalt, you can trigger it down to the lower setting and you can hit it and you have a good feel. You can do it and it's no problem. If you're blasting it with all that force, with an impact on metal to metal like this, you can cross thread it. Also, you can over tighten it. And this clamp on the top, which is pretty common with all manufacturers, can pinch the module frame, which has glass under it, and you can break the glass. It happens. I've seen guys do it with all kinds of different racking systems. So that's another thing to keep in mind is if you got guys breaking glass all the time, they need to either change out their tools and use a standard clutch drill, or these Yeti clamps do what's called interior clamping and grab the frame of the module, which module manufacturers like. And it's kind of going back to the old school where, they used to have mounting holes underneath where you put through bolts and clamp from the inside. The top mounting clamps, those are new in the past, decade or so. And some people are over tightening those and clamping and crushing the glass. So I know it's a long way to answer, but there's a lot of reasons. So again, safety, aesthetics, and also protecting the glass if you want interior clamping. So you can still select between the two and figure out which one's best for you. So going back into these end clamps, I mentioned the improvement. So we did a great video on clamps, and so if you haven't seen, sorry, someone's calling me again. I'm declining that call. I'm on the phone, so it's a little bit better sound for you guys. So I apologize if people are calling me in the middle of this. I should put do not disturb, but it's still coming through. So our end clamps, mid clamps. The new and improved has the hex. It has the cylinder. So if you look closely at that picture there, I keep pointing to the left because I have dual screen. So here's you guys and here's my screen. The picture, if you look at my cursor, that little cylinder, that allows you to have the bolt be received in the cylinder and not go past the MK3 anymore, so that you don't take up real estate in the rail channel. See how this goes down? So when you tighten this down, this might poke through just a little bit and take up some space in the rail. So now what we've done is we've improved this clamp so that you have more room in the rail channel to have wires. So this is a wire management tray built in, no special little piece on the outside they have to buy and clamp on there. You can still clamp to the side with our wire clips. We have the Omega and we have our Hay clip. You can clamp onto the side. A lot of guys like to do that on the side here, but a lot of guys like to use wire going in the rail channel, and that new clamp has that cylinder. So you can see I put the old part number and the new part number. So for our distributor folks on here, if you're wondering about this or installers wanting to order, the new part number for the new hardware that has the hex on it, like there for the single tool, that is going to have an H at the end for hex. So just keep that in mind. So you can see a little rendering that we did there that shows wires going into the rail channel under the MK3, so you have more space in there to do your wire management in the rail channel. So pretty slick. If this was requested by installers, I was an installer, so I'm in every meeting when new products get worked on, working with our engineers who also have installation experience. If any of you met Ben or Tyler, they've been on the roof and they're designing our products, as well as our Mexico team, which are very talented. So there's a good image of the the standard end clamp where you have a top clamp. So you could see how if you over torque that with any clamp going on top, this, you can see my cursor there. If you over tighten that, that's glass right there. You could pinch that glass and break the glass. And that's a huge no-no and the worst nightmare for an installer or an owner of the company. You definitely don't want that. So there's the Yeti clamp in action doing interior clamping. Again, the standard end clamp is fine and it works, but just don't over torque them and damage the module or the module frame for that matter. So you could see the interior clamping there, and you could see where we did originally have it with the hex, and now we're moving to the single tool platform that has we had it with an Allen, now it's a hex, so you can do the single tool with a 13mm socket. And again, there's the part number. It's the same part number as the original product, but with an H at the end. So hopefully that makes sense. All of them are that way. So if it existed with an Allen on it, and it's moving to the hex, it's going to have an H at the end, and you'll see it there. So there's our new grounding lug. If you haven't used this, this is awesome. This actually has the MK3 built in. So the best way to install it is turn it to the side like this. On the short side, grab that little plastic install aid, and then you drop it into the rail and turn it. And when you turn it, it will install into the rail. And then you have this one's been used a couple times. Got to back it up. You install this into the rail channel, and then that is in place. You turn this to the side, and then you tighten down here with your 13mm, and you can put your copper wire right into that piece. This actually is a different size because UL made us do it. We can't change that hex to another size. So usually guys just have like a little crescent and they tighten that down or whatever they need. And that's with all racking systems typically. So definitely check out the ground lug. That's the single tool now as well. We still will offer our weave lug, which is our original one. that goes into the side slot. So the ground lug, the Everest ground lug that you see there in the top channel is built with an MK3. It's only for the top rail channel. And so if you're doing like a complicated shared rail system and you really want to put it on the side, then stick with our Weeb lug 10.3, and that's going to be side slotted with a T-bolt, and it's the same as you've always done. So the other new product, if anyone is doing shared rail, excuse me, I did a little up close picture here. I just did this in my house just the other day. I wanted to show you the difference between the new clamp and the old clamp, as well as the old add-on and the new add-on. So I'm going to show that again here. So this is our old clamp that has been around forever, and it still exists and still has the MK3. And then this is the 5 millimeter where my fingers are. That's going to be the gap between the frame of the module and the racking, and that goes on here. So if you've never done a shared rail system, this is the only part that makes it a shared rail, where same mid clamps and end clamps, you turn this to the side and a module can land here and a module can land here. So if you look at that picture, that image on the top right corner, that little rendering that I have there, it's an L foot, the rail, the add-on, and 2 modules with the mid clamp. That's how a shared rail system works. So what some installers were requesting is a little bit more room underneath here, because the module is going to land here, and then you have a little gap where you can stick wires through. And some guys wanted, there's bigger and bigger wires coming out these days, so people wanted more room. So now we have a bigger 10 millimeter add-on. So this is the new clamp and the new add-on. So there's the 5 millimeter there, and this is the 10 millimeter, which is double the thickness of the space. So it's going to give you more space underneath there between the module frame and the rail. Does that make sense? So you're going to have more gap there, so you can put more wires in there and bundle them together if you really need to. So if you've done shared rail systems before with Everest, you're going to really like this, because we did this as a request from installers, and you're going to see that coming out now. So I didn't have the part number. I apologize. I left that blank there. Dakota, if you have the part number already, you can add it into the chat. I know we just created that, so maybe it's not available to us yet in the marketing department. But if you're interested in that, that is coming on board right now. Our distributors don't have a hold of it, but it's going on the price sheet now. And Nick, you can let me know if it's on there or not. I think it just got added and it's getting sent out, but that just came on board, and we do have product in stock now coming in. We'll still sell the 5 millimeter if you like that and you don't want to change. We'll still have that. So it's not going away completely. So I know we're getting close to the end here, and I want to leave some time for Q&A. So we're wrapping up here. So just a couple other new products I just quickly wanted to mention. Wire management tools. We just did a video on wire management, and I talked about the inside the rail channel using this TC wire clip. TC stands for top channel. So this is really cool, to where if you're transitioning, like you can see in that bottom left picture there, if you're transitioning more wires down to the next row, or maybe a home run coming out, and a lot of guys are using zip ties, they don't tend to last very long with the heat and the cold and the expansion contraction, and they get brittle and they break over time. This is a really hard, dense plastic that can take that abuse of the weather, and it hooks onto our CrossRail and all our CrossRails, and it tightens down on there so that you can, I'll move this out, so that you can keep the wires in the rail channel as they're transitioning out. So we did a whole video on that. We also have the Omega clip, which I have right here. Actually, I installed it on this system right here. This is the Omega clip, which goes into the side. There's the TC wire clip that stands for top channel. This is the going into the side. If you want to, a lot of guys like to take their connectors, connect them between modules or optimizers, whatever, and have it on the outside of the rail, like you see in that middle picture there, or that right picture with the hay clip. That's a nice way to hold your connections tight to the rail, and then maybe go into the rail, use the TC wire clips. You got all kinds of tools. So we just did a video on wire management. I think Dakota just threw that up on the website. So we're doing a lot of new training and videos and tips and tricks, go to Basecamp, which is our portal for, it's actually right here. Our training portal is called Basecamp. So if you go on our website, click those 3 lines on the top left, the menu, and then you'll see products, you'll see Basecamp. Click on Basecamp and just go into the overview and you'll see everything, webinars, videos, all that stuff. As well as new product documents. If you want all this information, we have a one sheet, and Dakota cleverly put that PDF in here for handouts. So if you look in your little toolbar menu there, there's a handout that says K2 single tool one sheet. That is this exact document right here. And it has all the products I just talked about that are new, with the hex head single tool, the CrossRail 44X, all the part numbers for all the lengths of rail, all the mill or dark, whichever one you want. It's all in there. So it's on our website under K2 single tool. If you go on the website, there's like a little bar that keeps changing at the top. If you click through, you'll see it say K2 single tool. It's probably the fastest way to get to it, and just click on that for read more, and you'll go to that page for K2 single tool, and you can download this document. But if you click on the document in your bar there, it's already there for you. And again, we have a lot of new product trainings coming out, all the information and videos. There's new videos on the website daily. So go on there and check it out. Go to our website. And if you haven't used Base, our design tool, please check it out. And if you want some help learning the system to navigate it, it's very, very detailed, and it has a lot of good information in there. And it's all the engineering built in. So you can compare the systems. Like if you want to do shared rail, you want to do dual rail, you're wondering where does it make the most sense, what system. I mean, shared rail, in my opinion, works the best when you're trying to do landscape. Some guys don't like landscape. They just hear it and they're like, I like portrait, because dual rail favors portrait for sure. But you saw that system that had that pyramid shape on a really tight roof. That was beautiful for not only landscape, but for shared rail on a standing seam roof, which they just got our power clamps, and they did that pyramid system, and they got way more modules on the roof, way more power on the roof, and they use shared rails so that less components. So if you're going on a system like that and you want to compare and see where it makes the most sense, you can do portrait or landscape for both dual rail and shared rail for our systems. It's just some might work out better, and that's where you can do the design tool Base, and Nick can drive you through that, or any of our outside sales reps in your area, or our inside sales team can drive you through that. So if you're wondering about advantages of the Everest system, there you go. Nobody does a shared rail system that uses the same components in the same orientations with the same racking and same parts. Everest is the only one that I know of so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we're the only ones. So that means you can buy all the stuff for a shared rail system. And then, like I said, if you get to the top and maybe a module needs to be kicked out, the as-built gets changed all the time. I know this because I was an installer, and one guy designs it from a computer and his satellite images, but you're the guy who's got to go there and step foot on the roof, and oh, whoops, there's a vent there, and you got to kick out a couple modules out to the left. Maybe it makes sense to do shared rail there to share that rail. Maybe it makes sense to do just dual rail straight up because it's one row and it doesn't matter. So you can do that on the fly with Everest because it's the same component. So I don't want to beat that into the ground, but just if you're wondering about that, just let us know and we can help you do some trainings there on that system. So, all right, let's move to questions. Nick, lay it on me. What do we got?
We did have an interesting question already regarding the Yeti clamp. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We had a question already regarding the Yeti clamp. I think you already addressed that, but there's a couple more coming in here. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I can kind of see them too. Let's see, rail connector. Oh, rail connector part number. Go ahead. Sorry, Nick. I can't see them as best as you can.
Yes, there is a question about our rail connector part number. So go ahead and grab that one sheet that we have. And if you do need one, if you do need a catalog, we can always email you with the new rail connector part numbers. That 1000 part number that you have appears to be a little bit older rail connector, maybe for our legacy S rail that didn't have the Y profile.
It might also be the part number for Mexico, just FYI.
That could be true, yeah. That's most likely. So, but let's get to the crux of the question. What is the application for a structural rail connector?
What is the application for a structural rail connector? Oh, that's easy. So the rail connector I have right here, and I didn't really talk about it much. I'm glad you brought it up. I got all these little parts here. Let me just, you guys can still see me, right? I just want to make sure that they were. Okay, so the rail connector is a really good point, and I actually realizing I didn't talk about one other new product that's somewhere here, and I want to make sure I do. Remind me, Nick, to talk about the new flat end cap. You guys can still see me, right? It looks frozen, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it looks frozen. Maybe turn your camera off and on again.
Okay. One sec, sorry guys. Webcam. I'm gonna stop it, and I'm gonna share again. So just to answer it verbally, while that's booting up, so our structural rail connector. We call it a rail connector because it's literally that. It is a rail connector. So it's going to connect a rail where you need to go longer than the, 165 and a 180 length. So there you go. Now you can see me, I think. So if the rail ends here, let me just take this apart with my single tool. If the rail ends, I got a black, a dark, and a mill here. We call it dark, and some people say black anodized or mill or bronze anodized. We call it dark in our literature. So just to let you know. So the rail connector is structural. It's not these little pins going in, self-tapping screws in there. It's not going to compromise the system. It's not going to shear off. It's literally if the rail ends here, like you see in the dark, and some guys like to put mill and maybe a dark on the end to hide the rail profile at the end. It's kind of a smart way to do it. But if the rail ends here, you put this rail connector in and you slide this in, and then you use the same T-bolts. I'm trying to do this one-handed, but same T-bolts that go in. Same T-bolts is what connects the rail to our L-foot on our XB or our tile hooks or any of our L-feet. You can same T-bolt set that comes with a lot of our racking or our mounting options, our roof attachments. So you put this in here, turn it so that that line is vertical there, and you just tighten that down and take your socket, tighten that down and both sides, and then you extend the rail out. So you just keep going if you need to extend. So our rails in standard length, they are there to take up, I think it's 4 modules in portrait, typical, which most installers know that a standard 165 rail with a module that's about 39 inches in width, that will be about 4 modules across in portrait. And there's some bigger modules that are out there, like Solaria and who else, Nick? There's a couple big ones out there. Solaria is the one that's wider. We have a 180 rail, I believe. Is that the right size, Nick? Am I getting that right? 180, I think it is. That will accommodate 4 modules that are a little bit wider.
That's correct. We do offer a 180 and a 166. So that
166, that's it.
Yeah, that 180 will accommodate rails. Modules that are a little bit wider, like your Solarias, sometimes your Panasonics, sometimes REC. There's a lot of modules out there, a lot of flavors. So we try to make sure the equipment is adaptable and flexible for what your environments and what kind of technology you choose to install.
Right. So I just clicked that attachment. If you look down in your menu bar, it says handouts, and Dakota threw one in there. And I clicked on it just now, and you'll get this K2 single tool system. This is the document you want. And this will answer your question about part numbers. So the rail connector part number, oh, it's not in here. It's not in here because it's rail. It depends on the rail. So 44 has its own rail connector, and 48X and 48XL is the same rail connector. So that's why it's not listed in here, because it depends on the rail. So
Yeah,
we
44X,
might want to.
the part numbers are 51 and 52. So, 4,000,
Okay.
51, 4,052. For 48X, it's 385 and 386.
Okay. Maybe type that into whoever asked that question. So that's when you use the rail connector. You could see it actually in action right there. There's the rail connector. So any other questions? Go ahead, Nick.
Let's drop that catalog in the handouts as well. We do have one more question here. Do we have distribution networks in India? We actually do have a little bit of support in the India market, and that's from our parent company, K2. So
yes.
some of the similar products are available through K2, and we'll get connected with K2 in India.
Yeah, so we do have offices that serve, it's divided into regions. So that would definitely be a K2 region, but I'm not sure exactly which office. If you're curious about that, just shoot us an email. We'll ask headquarters and see who the right contact is in India. So thanks for that question. Any others, Nick?
Yes, we do have a couple more here. It looks like somebody was thankful to see both of us, and that was from Hawaii. And we're thankful to see you too.
Well, mahalo. Too bad we can't get out there.
Mahalo. We covered this question about the structural splice. I hope everybody was able to get their question answered on that.
Well, while you're looking, Nick, I'm going to explain one more new product I didn't put in the slide, and I apologize. It's a small one, but this is our existing end clamp. See how it's like kind of tapered? See this one? It's kind of, you can see against a white wall there. See how it's a little bit tapered? It's really robust. This is for 48X and 48XL. They work across the board, and it's left and right, they're the same. So it's actually pretty nice. We had a request, so see how it's tapered? It looks really clean. It has the logo in there, but we had a request, since we have the Yeti clamp now, you're going to be putting in this Yeti clamp and installing it here, right? And the Yeti clamp, by the way, works for 48X, 48XL, 44X, and I believe 80, if you really wanted to, on a ground mount. So if you put this in, you're going to be cutting the rail flush with the module edge, right? So some people didn't want that tapered edge. They wanted it nice and tight. So we made a new end cap, same thing. It's universal, left or right, and now it's flat. So I'm trying to move out of the way so you can see it against the white wall back there. And it's flat, and we put in a little weep hole so that debris and water can get out. That was another request. This one has it too. It's just on the bottom. So you can weep out of there. But this one's a little bit bigger. That was, when we're doing design with products, we are actually, it's required now in our process to talk to installers. So if you use our products and you like things, you don't like things, we want to hear about it. So we literally have to put that build in. We have to get sign off on a couple installers in different regions. So that was a request by an installer to have some weep holes and to be still universal and be flat. So that's a new end cap. I think that's available now. I mean, if I have one, it's available because this is the real product. It's actually stamped, and it says in there 48X, 48XL end cap, and it's universal. So if you don't believe me, I'll put it in there. See that? Everest. Once it's stamped with Everest, it's ready to go. So that is a new product as well that I missed. Anything else, Nick?
We have another question actually regarding if our material is resistant enough for industrial or coastal areas, and then they're specifically quoted acid rain. Do you want me to take that one, Johan?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's a great question. And so our dark, just so you know, and I'm sure, Nick, you probably have something you want to add to this. I'm sure you get this question as well. But our dark is an anodized. So maybe this is Hawaii asking, our Hawaii friend there, or maybe it's someone else, but our anodized product is our dark product is anodized, so it has an extra layer of protection. So that's probably your best bet. If you got acid rain, problems are a little bit bigger than that. But our standard mill aluminum is also pretty corrosion resistant. We use a 6000 series aluminum grade, 6000 or a 6005A, I think it is, like a T5. That's what we use for standard mill, and a lot of that is the same alloy that's used in like some small marine boats. So that's sitting in salt water. So they do have some good amount of corrosion resistance built in already into the alloy that we're using in mill. But if you want for sure added protection, if you're right on the coast and you're getting salt spray from the ocean, most guys go to our dark, which is an anodized. I don't know if you want to add to that, Nick.
That's absolutely true. So about the alloys that we use, being the 6000 series T6, and we also put a Class A dark black anodize on all of our black equipment. So that is robust enough to take the abuse of most conditions, especially high moisture, saltwater marine conditions. When it comes to acidic rain, the Class A anodization we put on there should be corrosion resistant enough, but it really depends on the density of that acid rain and what environment that's in. So with that said, for all tropical conditions, we've shipped only our black rails, especially out to Hawaii, and we've on the coast of Mexico. They install a lot of our black rail, not just for an aesthetic, but just for the longevity of the system and to make sure that the equipment doesn't oxidize. Normally in those conditions, when it is a marine condition, the aluminum does not corrode. The aluminum creates a layer of oxidization. It looks like a white film. It's not corrosive like rust is corrosive. It's basically just a reaction in the aluminum to the salt and moisture content in the air. So like we said, we do a anodization on the black.
Cool. Great. Thanks. That's true. Any other questions, or are we good? I know we're past the hour. Apologize for going over. We're just in the Q&A, so we're done. If anyone needs to jump for another meeting, we're done. And an ABCEP credits, they're by request. So if you want one, it has to be with your name and your NABCEP number if you have it, and we will send those out one by one. So it takes a little time to do it, and our marketing team manages that. So for NABCEP credit, just go to the hit up marketing at everest-solarsystems.com and we'll send that out. And if you have more questions later, our direct number is there. Info@ goes to everybody in inside sales. There's also a sales@ email if you want. So let us know if you have questions on this product. We have a lot of new changes coming. This is probably just the first wave. We have more new products coming out. So definitely get on our website, sign up for our newsletter, because that's where we send out all the new information. We don't annoy you every day. We just send out information based on new products. I think it's quarterly or bi-quarterly or maybe monthly now. We've been sending out some more information because we have new products. We also have a Instagram and a LinkedIn page, so you can follow us there. And we do put up some information when we have new videos. It's just good to know. So anytime we're contacting you, it's not to annoy you. It's just to tell you we have a new video up, we have new content out, we have new products out, we have a webinar coming up. So we appreciate you guys joining us. And if there's nothing more, Nick, we can call it a day.
I think we're all set here. From everybody who joined Hawaii, mahalo. And we'll see you soon. And everybody out there all over the world, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, have a good day, guys. And be sure to check our website. We will throw the recorded versions of these on our website, and we have others as well. So thanks, and have a great day, and stay safe out there.